Most people think Bruce Lee became legendary because of his incredible speed, power, and skill, but what if I told you that there was a moment when everything he had worked for was at risk? In 1970, Bruce Lee suffered a severe back injury. Doctors told him he might never kick again. For a man whose life and identity were built on movement, this was more than a setback. It was potentially career-ending, and yet, instead of giving up, Bruce Lee transformed that crisis into one of the most important periods of growth in his life. This is not speculation. This is documented by his wife, Linda Lee, by his students, and in his own writings. This is what really happened and how Bruce Lee turned near defeat into lasting strength. Bruce Lee had been training intensely, pushing the limits of his body to reach new levels of speed, flexibility, and power. His routines combined martial arts drills, weightlifting, running, and dynamic stretching. One day, during training, Bruce experienced a sudden sharp pain in his lower back. According to Linda Lee, it was so severe that he could barely move. Doctors examined him and delivered grim news. The injury could be permanent. For a fighter and performer, this was devastating. Some even suggested that he should abandon high kicks and strenuous activity entirely, but Bruce Lee was not a man to accept limitations without question. He did not simply try to heal the body. He used the experience to rethink everything, not just his physical training, but his philosophy, his methods, and the way he approached martial arts. Rather than succumbing to fear or frustration, Bruce Lee began a regimen of mental and physical rehabilitation. According to Bruce Lee, artist of life, he practiced visualization techniques, imagining every kick, punch, and movement while he was bedridden. He studied the mechanics of motion and refined his understanding of efficiency. He focused on the areas he could control: core strength, flexibility, and conditioning exercises that would not aggravate his injury. Every day he measured progress carefully, understanding the body as both a tool and a teacher. Linda Lee recalls that Bruce's discipline during this period was extraordinary. He spent hours thinking, writing, and planning exercises that would later redefine his training. Even in recovery, Bruce Lee remained a teacher. He advised students, explained techniques, and refined his notes, turning a period of limitation into an opportunity for intellectual and philosophical growth. This injury did more than challenge Bruce physically. It forced him to confront something every martial artist fears: the possibility that their body might betray them. According to biographer Matthew Polly, Bruce Lee wrote extensively about honest self-assessment, emphasizing that physical skill alone is not mastery. Mastery requires mental clarity, strategy, and adaptability. The back injury became a crucible. It taught Bruce the limits of the body, the importance of recovery, and the need to integrate philosophy with training. He realized that martial arts was not just about performing perfectly, but about understanding movement, efficiency, and adaptability. This period of reflection and adaptation would influence his approach to jeet kune, reinforcing principles like economy of motion, interception, and the integration of mind and body. Bruce Lee's back injury could have ended his career. For most people, such a diagnosis would have been final. But for Bruce, it became a turning point. He understood immediately that simply resting would not be enough. Recovery required a complete rethinking of how he approached his body and his training. According to his wife, Linda Lee, Bruce began a rigorous plan, balancing physical rehabilitation with mental training. He analyzed his movements, focusing on every muscle involved in his kicks, strikes, and stances. Every motion was studied for efficiency. While bedridden, Bruce used visualization techniques. He imagined performing his techniques perfectly, mentally rehearsing kicks and strikes. Research now shows that mental rehearsal can strengthen neural pathways, and Bruce intuitively applied this principle decades before it became mainstream. At the same time, Bruce focused on controlled exercises that would not aggravate the injury. He experimented with stretching, gentle core strengthening, and flexibility work. His aim was not just to heal, but to enhance performance beyond what it had been before the injury. Bruce Lee's personal notes, later published in Artist of Life, described this period as one of intense self-analysis. He wrote about motion, leverage, and the importance of adapting technique to the body's limitations. He questioned traditional methods and experimented with alternative approaches to achieve maximum efficiency. Biographer Matthew Polly notes that this period of rehabilitation fundamentally changed Bruce Lee's philosophy. He realized that physical limitations were not obstacles, they were opportunities to innovate. By understanding his body's weaknesses, he could build a stronger, smarter approach to martial arts. Even as he recovered physically, Bruce Lee trained his mind. He studied strategy, timing, and the principles of combat, reinforcing the idea that martial arts were as much mental as physical. Every thought, every observation, became part of his evolving system. Linda Lee recalls that Bruce remained active with his students during recovery. He taught from a chair, demonstrating principles verbally and emphasizing efficiency. Even when his body was limited, he did not stop teaching or learning. This approach also deepened Bruce Lee's understanding of interception, the principle that would become central to jeet kune by studying the body's limits. He could design techniques that were not only effective, but practical under real conditions. The recovery was not instantaneous. Weeks and months passed. Pain and frustration were constant companions. Yet Bruce Lee's discipline and curiosity transformed what could have been a career-ending injury into an extraordinary period of growth. He documented every experiment, every adjustment, and every success. He tested movements carefully, ensuring that the injury would not recur while simultaneously pushing the boundaries of what his body could achieve. According to Matthew Polly and Linda Lee, Bruce's post-injury training was smarter than his pre-injury training. He combined flexibility, core strength, speed, and efficiency in a way that had never been done before in martial arts. By the end of his rehabilitation, Bruce Lee had not only recovered but reinvented his system. Every kick, every strike, and every stance reflected a deep understanding of the body, the mind, and the principles of combat. This experience reinforced a key lesson: adversity is not an end. It is a teacher. The back injury that threatened to end Bruce Lee's career instead became the catalyst for some of his greatest innovations. It taught him patience, observation, and the integration of philosophy and physical skill lessons he would carry into the final stages of his life and work. Even today, martial artists and athletes study Bruce Lee's rehabilitation as a model of intelligent recovery, showing that obstacles can become opportunities when approached with discipline, creativity, and honesty. After months of rehabilitation, Bruce Lee returned to training with a renewed perspective. His body had recovered, but his mind had transformed. He no longer saw martial arts as simply a collection of techniques. Every movement had to be efficient, precise, and adapted to reality. Every exercise had to support strength, flexibility, and endurance simultaneously. Linda Lee recalls that Bruce's comeback was gradual. He started with basic drills, testing his body carefully. Pain was still present, but he approached it as feedback, not as a barrier. He emphasized core stability, proper mechanics, and intelligent training, ensuring that he would not re-injure himself. Through this process, Bruce refined principles that would define jeet kune. Movements were stripped of unnecessary flourish. Kicks, strikes, and defensive actions were designed to maximize efficiency, while minimizing wasted energy. Even his students noticed the difference. Training under Bruce after the injury was not about impressing with speed or acrobatics. It was about precision, adaptability, and the integration of mind and body. Matthew Polly notes that this period was pivotal. The injury, which could have ended his career, instead became a test of resilience, creativity, and determination. Bruce Lee had transformed adversity into opportunity. Around the same time, Bruce faced another form of challenge: Hollywood. Despite his fame as a martial artist, he encountered racial barriers in casting and skepticism about his acting ability. For instance, the lead role in the television series Kung Fu was given to a white actor, David Carradine, instead of Bruce. Instead of bitterness, Bruce Lee used these experiences to strengthen his philosophy. Success in life, like mastery in martial arts, is not guaranteed. It must be earned through perseverance, self-honesty, and the ability to adapt. Linda Lee and Bruce's own notes emphasize that his back injury taught him patience, self-reflection, and the importance of aligning physical skill with philosophy. He had learned to respect the limits of the body while simultaneously pushing those limits intelligently. Bruce Lee's recovery demonstrates that true mastery involves more than raw talent. It involves mental discipline, observation, and the willingness to innovate. A challenge, whether physical, professional, or personal, can be a teacher if approached with honesty and persistence. For martial artists, athletes, and even ordinary people, the lesson is clear: setbacks are not endpoints. They are opportunities to analyze, adapt, and improve. Bruce Lee's injury showed that what seems like a defeat can become a catalyst for growth and transformation. By the end of his rehabilitation, Bruce Lee was stronger, faster, and smarter than before. His movements were refined, his philosophy deepened, and his approach to life and martial arts had matured. He had turned near disaster into a masterclass of resilience. This period also reinforced his guiding principle: victory is not about outward success. It is about honest self-assessment, learning from setbacks, and using challenges to evolve. According to Matthew Polly, Bruce Lee's post-injury years solidified his legacy. He became not just a great fighter, but a thinker, teacher, and innovator. His experience shows that true greatness comes not from avoiding difficulties, but from facing them directly and learning from them. Linda Lee reflects that Bruce Lee's back injury, which could have ended his career, instead became one of the most formative experiences of his life. It shaped the way he trained, the way he taught, and the philosophy that continues to inspire millions worldwide. The lessons from this story are universal. Adversity, when met with discipline, analysis, and honesty, can lead to profound growth. Setbacks can be transformed into breakthroughs. Limitations can become sources of innovation. Bruce Lee did not just recover from a back injury. He reinvented himself, showing the world that resilience, intelligence, and self-awareness are as vital as strength and skill, and that is the enduring truth of Bruce Lee's life. Mastery is not measured by victory alone, but by the courage to face obstacles, the wisdom to learn from them, and the determination to rise stronger than before.